It's time for a confession. I know we're going to get to the title of this episode and what it's about in just a minute, but my confession is that I have not sat in this chair with this microphone in front of me for a while. I just got back from Alaska on Saturday, May 30th at 11:59 p.m., a minute until midnight. We kind of like slid into home plate at the last second, so to speak. It was a heck of a trip. Let me just tell you about it really quick, and then I will get into today's episode. So, we left our house in Perrysburg on May 20th, early in the morning, headed to Chicago. We stayed in a hotel. We went to a Cubs game. We went and saw the Bean as well. We had never been to a Cubs game. Amazing. From the national anthem to the seventh inning stretch to the competition between the Cubs and the Brewers. It was awesome. We had beers. We watched the game. We took it all in. It's a great old stadium. People had pieces of wood with ones and zeros and numbers, whatever, that they had to actually manually put into the scoreboard. I've never seen anything like that in a pro baseball game. It was wild. And then we flew out of Chicago O'Hare to Seattle Tacoma Airport. So, Seattle Airport in Seattle, Washington. We stayed in a Verbo, which is a rental house in Kirkland, Washington. I got to see my sister who came up from Portland. She stayed with us there at the Verbo. I got to see my friend Nandita, who I know from the pharmacy world. And I got to see my family, my Uncle Terry, my Aunt Linda, my cousin Erin, my cousin Jessie, and her husband Alex. And I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but I got to see family. It was really, really nice. And then we headed out on a Princess cruise ship on Saturday, May 23rd. And we had a 7-day cruise with Princess Cruises. We went to Alaska. And it's not like we went to the heart of Alaska, the inside Anchorage part. We went to the southeastern part, which contains Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, and Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. So we made a few stops. It was amazing. I have never seen Alaska, never been to Alaska before. I was impressed. And one of the coolest things was that in Juneau, the city of Juneau, which is the capital of Alaska, you can only get to that capital by flying in or cruising in on a ship. You cannot drive there. Apparently, they have roads in Juneau, but you can't get anywhere else from there because there's a lot of water. There's ocean all over the place and there's mountains. We saw the sights. We saw ravens and eagles. I think I saw one sea otter, no sea lions, no elk, no moose, no whales, no killer whales. I don't want to say I was disappointed. Oh, yeah, no bears, too. There were all kinds of animals that people on our ship had seen. So they made a running list on one of the common decks, the pool deck, it was. There were 89 animals spotted by my fellow cruisers, and we only saw 3 of them. You're going to see whatever you're going to see. We went in May, which is not exactly peak time for seeing animals, apparently. We are not disappointed. We were there to see the mountains and experience the land. It was a really good trip. Lots of family time, lots of making memories. It was a great trip. So, as I record episode 150 of the Perrysburg Podcast, this is the first episode I have recorded in my house for a while. I interviewed Pickleball Paul and Dr. Mohammed Shalabi when, gosh, it was the first part of the month. And I took my laptop with me and my podcasting equipment, and I just edited everything while I had some downtime on the road. And I did the intro and the outro on the road. The Pickleball Paul episode, I recorded the intro and the outro, or conclusion, if you want to call it that, in the Verbo in Seattle, which was so cool. My sister, I had to send her to bed. I said, I don't want any noise. Go to bed. I need to record this. So she let me, which was great. And it all came out just fine. And then the introduction and the outro. So the intro and the outro for the episode featuring Mohammed Shalabi was done on a boat. I did that one on the Princess Cruise somewhere in Alaska. So that was really cool. I am so happy that I have this flexible hobby where I can do things outside of the house. But I'm very happy to be here in my house, in my usual chair, in front of my usual mic, recording this podcast episode for you today. Let's get into it, shall we? You read the title right. The countdown to monthly episodes begins. Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast. This is episode 150. I'm your host, Perrysburg resident Kim Newlove, and I'm actually in Perrysburg for this one. The Perrysburg Podcast is a resource for Perrysburg residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. Our website is perrysburgpodcast.com. Now, I don't like to bury the lead, and I already mentioned that there's a countdown to monthly episodes, so let's dive in. This episode is more of an announcement than anything. It's an announcement that this show's format is switching from a weekly show to a monthly show. I plan to publish monthly episodes after the 3-year anniversary show on July 3rd, 2026. So after I publish that one, you won't hear from me until August. When I started this podcast, the Perrysburg Podcast, back in July of 2023, my plan was to end the show after 3 years, like exactly July 3rd, 2026, I'm out. But I've changed my mind. Why did I want to go with 3 years, you might be wondering? Well, what I wanted to do was dedicate 1 year for each of the 3 segments of the audience that I had in mind when I started the show. And those 3 segments are, number 1, future Perrysburg residents. Those are like me back in 2006 when I was moving from Toledo to Perrysburg. They basically are anybody who's not living here yet. Maybe they're considering a move, or they're people who will definitely move here someday. Maybe they're part of a business and they're being relocated. If that's you, we're looking forward to having you as part of the community here in Perrysburg. Number 2 on my list is new Perrysburg residents. When I started this podcast, I had new Perrysburg residents in mind. That means folks who have lived here less than 12 months. They haven't had those firsts yet. They haven't had a year of first experiences. And number 3 on my list is current Perrysburg residents. Those are folks who have lived here for more than 12 months. If you've had a winter here and a summer, you've probably been here for 12 months. Current residents have been through the snow-plowed streets, the spring brush pickup, the fall leaf collection, their first parades, the Memorial Day parade, it's the homecoming parade. They've been through one high school football season, one homecoming festival, and so on. So if that sounds like you've been here for 12 months or more, you've been through one winter and one summer, you got all those firsts out of the way, you live here now. You are a Perrysburg resident. Now, along the way, along the 3 years that I've been doing this podcast, I have learned that people from around the country, so around the United States and around the world, are curious about Perrysburg, Ohio, and they listen to the Perrysburg Podcast. I just checked my stats for this podcast today, and more than 70 countries and 36 U.S. states have tuned into this show just this year alone. People are curious about Perrysburg, Ohio. So, with that in mind, no matter who you are and where you live, thank you for listening to the Perrysburg Podcast. I truly do hope that I have reached the future, new, and current Perrysburg, Ohio residents. But no matter where you live, if you're somewhere else in the world or the country, thank you for listening to this podcast. I'd like to share some history with you next. In case you didn't know this show has been a 3-year service project. It is not affiliated with the city of Perrysburg or Perrysburg Township or any business. No one pays me to do this podcast, and no one sponsors the show either. I plan to keep it running independently, so no sponsors, nobody's paying me to do it. It's just going to be a volunteer project. It's going to continue to be a volunteer project, I should say. But I do plan to collaborate with one very specific Perrysburg-based organization for the 4th year of the podcast. And I'll have more on that in the 3-year podcast anniversary episode on July 3rd. In case you can't tell, I am excited about this upcoming collaboration with this Perrysburg-based organization, and also about having a less demanding publishing schedule. Going from weekly to monthly is going to feel really nice to me. Going from 4 to 5 shows a month to one per month will free up my time. That's time that I can use to publish both of my podcasts on a monthly basis, run my small business, and then take care of myself and my family. I'm going to share something kind of personal with you, and I don't think I'm going to cry when I say this, but I did mention this in the grief episode, the grief counseling episode with Tim Polakowski. I have a friend that died back in June of 2024, and she was very much like me. Married, 2 boys, entrepreneur, loved her job, loved life, and she just suddenly had a heart attack at the age of 45. She died in June 7th of 2024. I think of her all the time, and when my life feels too full and I feel too busy, I just think back to when she died and I told myself, I need to slow down and enjoy life a little bit because what happened to my friend Asha could happen to any of us. So yeah, I am looking forward to having more time to take care of myself and my family and enjoy life. I know I got very serious there for a second, but let's lighten it up. I'd like to close this episode out by saying that until the last weekly show on July 3rd, 2026, I have plenty of weekly episodes planned. For example, let me tell you about next week's episode. I have a special episode coming up next week for Perrysburg-based authors who want to narrate their own audiobook. Said another way, next week's episode is about audiobook narration for Perrysburg-based authors. Why that topic, you might be wondering? For anyone who doesn't know, I am a pharmacist by training, but I'm not in clinical practice anymore. My second career includes being a voice actor, author, podcast host, coach, and consultant. Part of my being a voice actor is being a medical narrator and an audiobook narrator. Now, specifically, I typically narrate audiobooks for women pharmacist authors. And when I became a woman pharmacist author by writing my own book, I narrated it as well. So, in this episode coming up next week, you'll get to hear about audiobook narration from an author. That's me. Part of my coaching and consulting is around the topic of audiobooks. I help pharmacist authors narrate their audiobooks. And I just started working with other healthcare professionals as well. I helped my first nurse narrate her audiobook as well. I have a publisher that feeds me clients, and I also do consults on other clients that I find myself. Audiobook narration is a topic that I have expertise on. I went through an audiobook narration program taught by Sean Pratt. You can learn more about that program at SeanPrattPresents.com. Sean is spelled Sean, Sean. SeanPrattPresents.com. I really can't wait to dive into this topic because I have a lot to say about it. And that's all I have for you today. Just this announcement to let you know that I'm changing my production schedule to monthly here coming up in July. There's so much more to cover on this podcast, so going monthly feels like a great alternative to ending the show, which I had intended to do when I started it in July 2023. If you have been a longtime listener, I want to thank you so much for coming along for the ride for the last few years or months, whenever you got on the Kim Newlove train here. And if you're a new listener, thank you so much for joining me today. Come on back. We've got a lot more coming up. Subscribe to or follow the show on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you have not subscribed to my newsletter yet, the newsletter for the Perrysburg Podcast, there is a link to sign up in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. If you join the email list, I will email you each time a new episode comes out. Go ahead and share this show with anybody you think might like it. I thank you very much for listening today, and I'll talk to you next week. Can't wait.